second for you. Getting closer. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Getting Close Up, a show focused on independent artists and creatives. I'm your host, Danielle Cox, and from the clip you've seen, that was just a glimpse into the creative mind of my next guest. He's a photographer, a music blogger, a content creator with a vision to capture the art of music. Today we are getting close up with Ryan Hamilton. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, friend. How are you?
Doing pretty well today.
I'm so glad to have you here in person.
Yes.
Even though you have to endure, the weather here compared to Brooklyn. Bright, sunny, glorious Brooklyn.
The weather's better here than it is in New York right now. So
we'll I believe you on that. But as they've said, just wait a couple seconds, it'll change. So again, very happy to have you here. I just want to start out with a couple of questions so the folks watching can get to know you a little bit. What song would you say is your theme song?
Ooh, right now, this is perfect. Count Me Out by Kendrick Lamar.
Ooh.
And it's from his newest album, Mr. Morales and the Big Steppers. And I actually listened to it probably at least 10 times on repeat. Today, coming here, going to church, and there's a line in the song that says, like, this time I'm gonna believe in me. And it really resonated with me because this past year so far has really been me believing truly in myself, my abilities, and my talents.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I listened when To Pimp a Butterfly came out. I listened to that. It was on repeat like crazy.
Yeah.
So I completely understand.
Yeah.
What would you say you're an expert in?
What am I an expert in? Being honest.
Okay.
Honestly. And I say that because I've been doing photography since 2009, or I picked up a camera in 2009, but so much of my work is a reflection of like truth. So I think I'm really good at sharing with the world, like the world as it is, like honestly how it looks and how it feels.
Yeah.
Of course through my eyes, but really evoking people as people. So yeah, I think that's certainly an expertise of mine. And then music, I love sounds, can talk about it all the time. We can have this whole show be about To Pimp a Butterfly if you like.
For real.
But yeah, music, photography, but truly it's all rooted in like honesty and like what is actually there.
Yeah, and it's really important because you would think photography in and of itself would be something that's about truth, but it's also about perception and as a byproduct of that, deception.
Yeah.
So you have to be looking for truth and you have to be going after it.
Yeah.
You have to be pursuing it. So that's really dope.
Thank you.
Feel you on that one. Name your 3 favorite albums of all time.
Of all time?
Of all time, period. Definitive. You can't change it.
Albums of all time.
Yeah.
We'll be here. Okay, so it has to be something by Beyonce, but I'm trying to figure out which one. I'm actually going to say Renaissance for right now, and it's impacted me, the album itself, but also my life in ways unimaginable of like what is possible. So that's certainly one. Second, trying to think, this is difficult. Oh, Jay-Z, the Black Album. Before a Beyonce fan, I am a Jay-Z fan, or was a Jay-Z fan. So I think I've seen both of them live almost the same amount of times. I've seen Jay-Z live like 12 times.
That's crazy.
And then my like top artist personally is Erykah Badu. I think the album from her that is like my favorite or like top probably would be Mama's Gun. Actually.
Mama's Gun
like,
is an amazing album.
Yeah.
I listen to it there's songs of it in my playlist on a regular basis, but I enjoy albums as a whole, and I like to listen to them from beginning to end, and I revisited that just last week, and I was like, I'm gonna play it back.
It's that.
It is. It's a story. I love storytelling, and she is amazing at that.
I appreciate the vulnerability.
That
too.
I
think, with each of them, whether it's in the song or the meaning behind when they're writing it, you really hear it. And just, again, honesty, real life.
That's 100% it. Yeah, that wasn't so bad.
It wasn't.
Okay.
But now I'm like, am I going to get ripped to shreds for my 3? Because Beyonce Renaissance is top. But I'm like, is it my favorite
There's
of all
no
time?
way anybody got a problem with you about those 3. Like, they have a problem in themselves. That's their problem. But I want to start out with this. I was getting into the interview. So I had heard that you was a bad kid, or maybe we won't say bad. Interesting.
I think that is up to the people to tell the story. I honestly call myself the poster child of perfection. So
I think that's our answer.
While I may have been mischievous and bad, the result.
Yeah.
Look at the material now.
No, exactly. And that's definitely goes to my next one. No matter how bad you were or weren't, you're here because, and we're going to talk about it.
Exactly.
So let's get into it. Did your family realize that you were creative and like help foster that in any kind of way? Like, did they see it, or were they like?
So fortunately, a lot of my family, growing up in the church, think it was like, you're gonna be in the choir. So I sang with my siblings, in the choir. My brother, director at the time. I took a liking to vocal performance, but a lot of training at the time was classical. It wasn't until college that I started taking the visual route,
Right.
and picked up my first camera in 2009, it's so interesting because how singers are I started in the church.
Yeah.
But as a photographer, I actually started in the church. So at Howard, I was the historian for this organization, Chapel Assistants, and I was tasked with documenting each Sunday service.
Oh, wow.
And so that is actually my introduction into photography, and going back into my particular niche and style is more documentary so that's where that honesty piece comes from. But as far as my family, transparently, it's an up and down road because being from Kansas, we didn't see it. You see it on TV, but it didn't feel like being creative was within reach. Even as a photographer, you see maybe wedding or family portrait or kids, where for me, my main niche is shooting music and concerts, music festivals, and events, but large scale events and parties and such. And I didn't see that here. So I believe me doing it and kind of breaking through, they understood it and saw the vision of creativity, but it wasn't always like that.
Yeah. It's outside of media. Growing up, and I think it made me think about it when you said that. Outside of media, magazines and billboards and things like that, a photographer that I saw was the dude at Sears or, at Kmart when you're doing your family pictures and stuff like that.
Exactly. But it's exactly
that's the exposure that you have to that. So you don't really know that you can just be walking around with a camera taking pictures of stuff.
And I think still, not everyone understands what it is, or oh, just take a picture. Or I get this a lot where people will pass me their phone and well, he's a photographer. And I'm not an iPhone photographer. I invest a lot in equipment and money.
Yeah.
And I surely can take pictures, but I don't think I take good selfies. Where some people, I'm yo, they could show me how to do things, but behind an actual lens, that's where I shine.
Yeah, exactly. I that makes sense. So you mentioned Howard. Tell me about your time there and how that formed your foray into photography.
Man, Howard truly was one of the best decisions I'd ever made. And It sounds so wild because I was debating between Howard and Hampton, and kid you not, Hampton had a curfew. And I, growing up, didn't have a curfew, so I was like, I'm going to Howard. Like, there were other things in it, but truth be told, like, I had friends who went to both schools. I was like, a curfew? Like, I don't even get told what time to come home now, so I'm not doing this.
Not gonna pay. You gotta tell me what time to come home. I mean, let's keep it real.
So Howard, it really was a space where I started to understand and ground my foundation in myself, my Blackness, understanding we're not all the same, which I absolutely love. And then my sophomore going into junior year, I picked up a camera, and it was one of the best things. Faraday and Zarina, they were both photo editors for the Hilltop newspaper at Howard. They taught me so much, made sure I knew the technical. It wasn't a go buy new equipment and just click the shutter. It's like, know what your aperture means and your shutter speeds and the ISOs. And they really trained me to make sure that it's like you can make it your own, but know the rules, know like the technical aspects of things, which I loved. And then my senior year, the university actually brought me on as an intern. So I was shooting on behalf of Howard University, where I actually got to take portraits of then President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle separately, which felt really cool, and have images on ABC News and whitehouse.gov and things from, like, again, going back to being this kid from Kansas, which I say all the time, it's like, every time I get something, I'm amazed because I didn't see this. Yeah. So I know through Howard, other experiences, I'm forging a path for others, you know, being that inspiration. And I don't think about it a lot because then I'll get overwhelmed, but I do understand that power. And but I do owe a lot of it to Howard, and even my mom, who bought me my first camera back in '09. So, you know, when you asked about even that belief, maybe not all the way through, but at one point it's like, yes, I want to invest in your talent. I know you like this. Let's see where it goes. And
that's awesome, because getting into the opportunities that it opened up for you, but you didn't go to school for photography.
Not at all.
So
neither degree. So my bachelor's degree is in communications, and my master's is in sociology and education. So while I was at Howard and then I went to NYU for grad school, I did take photo classes. It was like, still want to learn, and many of my friends were creatives or photographers, would show around. And at Howard, it was a space to explore in the classroom, but also outside. So the yard, or like our quadrangle, was the spot where I grew my talents in shooting people and started my documentary style. Every Friday I'd be on the yard, and something that I hashtag on my photos today is like shot by Rye. However, back at Howard, I would make photo albums on Facebook, and people would want to be a part. Like, yo, I need to be a part of the Black album. It was like Black and White series or other things, so they knew. And even the same, so outside of shooting for the church, I did work for the Hilltop newspaper, and everyone wanted me to come to their events because they knew it was like, oh, if he captures, it's gonna make the paper, which was really cool.
Yeah, you was helping folks go viral before that was even a thing for real. See?
And I think even going back to those degrees, everyone always thought I was a photographer or a photography major. So, you know, now, and I still work my 9 to 5 right now, people are like, oh, we just thought you just did that, because I do show it and do it so much.
Now's your 9 to 5, is that rooted in what you went to school for?
Kind of. I mean, I work with students. I'm an associate director for this finance program, but in higher ed. So yes, to an extent, using communications, definitely sociology, education. However, I think a lot of my main mission is empowering students. So even through photography or whatsoever, I'm just so open. Be like, whatever pathway you take, I can help you get there. Let's talk through it, or let's learn about what that journey is ahead. But I do think students now have so many more resources and more eyes to see pathways. So even traditional college, it's like, you don't have to just work at a bank, or, you know, you get a job in education. You don't have to just be a teacher.
Exactly.
Like, so many things you can do, which I'm so glad I didn't limit myself, where I can do both and do both really well.
Yeah. That's That makes the difference for real. And people need to know that, because the first limitation was, oh, if you don't go to college, you're not going to do anything, period. Mm-hmm. And then people get there and they're like, but I can't find anything. But there's things within things. There's jobs within jobs.
If we want to go there, we could talk about it. But yeah.
But yeah, just we'll leave that there. Say that probably for the next time. So when I look at your photos, it, especially your concert photography, it's very dynamic.
Thank you.
I feel like it's very dynamic. How do you know when you've captured the moment?
That's a really good question. How do I know when I've captured the moment? Sometimes it's during. I'll know. It's like, the thing about photography is it's so fast. And even just to like background around concert photography. So when you're shooting, you generally have first 3 songs or first 15 minutes. So you might shoot a few hundred photos in that time span. And one of the things that's been really important for me, and this was something I learned at Howard, it was like, get it right in frame so you're not spending all of your time editing. And that's actually a lot of my work too. So there may be a photo that's in black and white, but however, generally the images that you see, they're framed exactly like that for the most part, because I don't like to spend a lot of time in that way. So, but it depends, because going back to like, what is the moment?
Right.
There's sometimes where there's an image and I'm like, I love this so much. And like, I like find this moment, and then a year later I'll revisit the images and I'm like, oh no, this is even better. So it depends. But I think in that moment, don't think about it too much. I'm like, oh, this is the moment. And I think that's, even as creatives, we make the moment, because we're almost telling you like, this is what that moment is. And then a year later, it's like, oh, here's another one.
Here's another one.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. And going into the concert photography, and again, talking about opportunities, you've worked with Notorious Nartons, SZA, you've had billboards in Times Square. Like, so tell me a little bit about what things got in place for you to have those opportunities.
I really think life journey. So both Howard and NYU taught me how to pitch myself. So when I started my music blog, Music and Other Drugs, it really was off the strength of, I just want to go to concerts for free. Yeah. And knowing, oh, you need to have a platform to do so.
Right.
However, those skills that I had learned from working at both newspapers at NYU and at Howard really showed me, it's like, how do you do this on your own? So those were the skills to then help with the photography skills. One of the parts that's hard though as a creative, where I feel I've lucked out and kind of still working corporate, higher ed, is understanding how to do both creative and business. So when it comes to accounting and taxes, or even pitching yourself, all the images and stuff, those are great, but Uncle Sam has to get paid.
Yes, he does.
And I still have to get paid.
That
and how
too.
do I make sure what to value myself as a creative, as well, and not just, I'm just happy to be here.
Right.
And that was something that was really big for me. It's like, I don't want to just be happy to show up. I know my value and worth, and I'm gonna show up, so I want to be compensated for it, but also want to know how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you mentioned Music and Other Drugs, and that is a site for independent Black artists.
Yes.
Tell me about what made you want to get that started.
Absolutely. So again, outside of wanting to go to concerts for free, like one of the things we talk about is indie artists need love too.
Yeah.
And this was at a time, blogs were before like the playlist boom.
Yeah.
So people were often like, me and my colleague Jordan were like, what are you listening to? So we really created a hub for people to go to discover new and emerging artists. The thing about Music and Other Drugs is interesting, talk about business, the model itself had to change.
Yeah.
So when playlisting and streaming really started to boost, well, nobody needs to go to a website to hear about one particular song. So then we transitioned more so into merchandising. So like this hat here is like a part of Music and Other Drugs, and other items. The concert photography part is still there, but it's more so a guise of like media to say these are our offerings of what we can do for your artist or business, less in the blogging space, which has changed.
Yeah.
But it's also been really cool because that's been going on since 2015. So it's nice to see the landscape and not look at it as a failure, but you change as the world changes.
Yeah, and it changes.
Yes.
So rapidly.
Very rapidly.
Now, Music Heals, which is what's on your hat, and would you say that's part of the brand of Music and Other
Yeah,
Goods?
for sure. And I think something so personal to me because music for all of my life, any genre has been like a healing force, sonically, lyrically. So I wear this hat probably 3-4 days out of the week. And actually everything I have on, from my earrings to the butterfly and my ring that says take up space, almost some, like my armor are constant reminders of who I am, and making sure when I step out in the world, it's like, these are like my life forces.
Exactly. It's your brand. It's your billboard.
And I am. That's what, like, Ryan C. Hamilton is the brand. Like, all of my socials have been my name. It's actually something I thought about past few weeks ago. It's like, my moniker is all my name.
Right.
So then I'm like, is it too much of me? And I'm like, no, I really enjoy that. But it was something I just thought about because everything across the board is Ryan C. Hamilton. So all of this is me. When I step out in the world, social media, if I'm at a party, behind the lens, it's all the same. And that was something that was so awesome to really come into my own and really accept myself fully as a creative and just as a person.
Right, because you're photographing truth, but you also have to carry the banner of truth.
It's that.
For yourself.
Correct.
So now, going back into the business part of things, what's been the hardest part about having your own business?
The money piece.
Yeah.
And like earning, not even just taxes, but like there really is no guide online as a concert photographer to what should you be charging. There was actually someone on Twitter about 2 weeks ago who started getting anonymous submissions from people to document what they've been getting paid. But so much of this industry is behind the scenes. So when you talk about pay equity and making sure you're getting you don't even know what a brand's budget or an artist's budget or things are. So that part, like that money making and like what to charge and how to value yourself. And I think as a Black creator, sometimes we do just feel happy just to be there, and we undercut ourselves, not knowing that we can get so much more. And so many of us, that's why it becomes hard to do things full time, or, Law Roach, a stylist, just talked about this. Of like, you don't want to be the $75 hairstylist, and of course you want to work with people. And there's people I'll work with if I know their budgets are different, and especially if I'm outside of New York City or LA. However, there's still a bottom line.
Right.
I still have to eat. Also, the other piece, and we won't go through this, as an independent, you pay a lot more in taxes, so it's not even just that 30%. Just as a sole proprietor, there's an additional 15, from what you make. So I think just as a business owner, it's very much so that. And then the other piece is, when you don't want to, you don't have to, which is a gift and a curse. So I could choose to wake up and work, or I could choose to not.
Right.
However, what is that putting, behind? But also, you do have to take care of yourself and mental health. So I'm better at taking breaks now, but that is hard. You get to choose, but that choice, if you stop, the world keeps moving regardless.
It does. Yeah. It'll keep on going.
Yeah.
And speaking of continuing, are there any opportunities going on right now, or something like you started something new recently?
I have one. There's one I can't say. That's only
okay.
We can say it off camera.
Okay.
But I preparing really. I have a print store that I just opened a few weeks ago. That's been really good, and it's nice to get my work in people's homes. One of the things. Everything's on our phone or on a computer. So it's really nice to offer a product to go to people's homes and see it on their walls, or see it in real life. We have to have tangible, my entire house. I have a few things from friends, other Black creatives, but most of the photos hanging in my house are my own. And those also serve as reminders of myself of you've done this and you can keep doing this. But yeah, so that's really my focus right now is my print shop. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now you mentioned your print shop, which was probably a lot to get off the ground and everything. What does your dream job look like though?
My immediate dream job is to go on tour with Beyonce.
Okay.
But it's that, and not just Beyonce, but to really spend, and by dream job, it's different because I know I'm 34. Like, this body's not gonna always be the same. However, while I love tour photography. I love festival photography, and to continue to shoot events. Think later down, I would love to own my own studio and open it up for others to use, and also hold classes and workshops, teach people lighting and studio photography, because transparently, even that's a new world for me. Yeah. I only started doing studio photography in the last 3 years, and it was really because of the pandemic. So some of my portrait work and such stem from that, but I also love and see the value. So I would love that down the line to own shops and spaces for creatives to come and work, learn from, but also utilize for themselves.
That would be amazing, because it's just paying forward the things that you learned when you were going to Howard and other people stepped in and said, these are the rules, and this is how this goes. So that gave you liberty to explore even further and discover the part of your vision that you wanted.
It's exactly that. My life is not my own. I always know and have known since I was a kid, I'm a vessel of just giving it away. So whatever I have, I'm take it. What can I show? I'm always open. You're what camera should you get? Or I want to start. I'll go on photo walks with people. Let's learn the equipment. So it's very much so that. And this ecosystem only works if we do, So what can I do 10, 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, a workshop, to really inspire someone else, even if it's not photography, to take a chance on themselves, because that's really important. I think we have this one life, and
we do.
If you think about it, and you think about it every night before you go to bed, you wake up thinking about it, you have to go after it, because the opportunity might not ever come again. And so it's give yourself time. And I think for anybody, it doesn't matter the age. I think there was so much time in my 20s that I spent thinking by 30 I have to do this thing, and then I hit 30 and I'm well, you didn't do it, but you still can.
You still
and
can,
that so much is my 30s have been so exciting for me, because I feel just that. I'm yeah, and you're still here and you're still getting up, so do the things you want to do.
I know that's right. So you already mentioned that all of your links have your name in them, but go ahead and tell the people that are watching and listening where they can find you and keep up with you.
What's good, people? You can find me www.ryanchamilton.com, Instagram, Ryan C. Hamilton, Twitter, Ryan C_Hamilton. It's all Cash App, Venmo, Ryan C. Hamilton if you want to send some change. It's literally everything. And even when new social mediums come, it's Ryan C. Hamilton, except TikTok. I am Rye the Photog, RYTHEPHOTOG.
Yeah, because they snatching stuff up on TikTok, don't they?
Oh yeah.
I can't even get my own name on here.
I had it. I wanted to change it because I was I want this to really be my photography focus. So that's why I was that's the only thing that's Rye the Photog. But other than that, everything's Ryan C. Hamilton.
So thank you so much for being here with me today. It's been a ton of fun, and I appreciate all the information you gave, and I know it's going to help some people.
I appreciate it. This is a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is it for us today. And again, I want to thank my guest, Ryan Hamilton, for being here. The links that he gave that are basically all his name, multiple ways, will be in the description box below. So definitely check him out. If you like what you saw and you had as much fun as we did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so we can keep bringing it to you. Episodes of Getting Close Up air bi-weekly on Fridays. So make sure you check in with us so you don't miss a thing. Also, next Friday, tune in to GCU Reviews. We'll be giving you the tea on what's hot and what's not. You do not want to miss it. Thanks for watching, friends. I appreciate you. You stay hydrated, stay blessed, and I'll see you again soon for another Close Up. I'll be checking for you.